Well, I'm having a bit of a play to see whether this is going to multi-stream me across Facebook and also onto my YouTube channel. Now, I don't quite know if this is working. Let's have a look at my live dashboard. And it's saying that I am live on Facebook as well. So that is all looking rather interesting. So it'll be cool to see now whether StreamYard is bringing it up. So there we go. Darren is saying it's coming up there, but that's on Facebook. So it'd be interesting to see if somebody goes and has a look at my YouTube channel. So let's just go and www.youtube.com/C for channel, and then it's UK Cache Mag videos, I believe. So with a bit of luck, that link there is going to bring me up on Facebook. So let's just go and have a look here. www.youtube.com/C for channel UK Cache Mag videos. So is this showing that I'm live? Maybe it's going to take a moment to load. I don't really know what I'm doing here. So it's showing that I'm live, but it's not showing live when I go on there. So how you doing, Matt? Are you well? I'm all good. And Hazel Baker is saying, am I using StreamYard? Yes, I'm trying to use StreamYard. So it's certainly coming across through here on Facebook, because I can see we're getting the comments, but I'm trying to work out how to get it to go live simultaneously on to my YouTube channel. What else is new, Matt? Well, I've got a bit of a COVID haircut, back in Coventry after living in Hampshire for a year, came back in September. Working or furloughed as a job in audio visual, so sound and lighting for conferences and building set and stage and all that sort of stuff. And while I'm on furlough, I thought I'd have a bit of a play with some tech at home. So looking at some live streaming bits and pieces, having a look also at some podcasting stuff. We have the Hef. Public speaker, does a lot of stuff about dealing with anxiety, mental health. He's keen to get talking across to people in the States. So if you've got any contacts that can get the Hef speaking. And Hazel is saying, yes, I'm live on YouTube. So thank you very much, Hazel, for checking that for me. That's absolutely brilliant. And yeah. So I don't know if this is going to pull up the context. Okay. So I've got a nice fancy thumbnail there. So in terms of YouTube and this, I thought I would come and talk about my passion. So let's take the overlays off and we'll go and get rid of that banner and tidy things up. So I'm going to talk about why I'm the geocaching guy. 2008 is when I got into geocaching, and geocaching is a GPS travel adventure game. You use an app on your smartphone that uses the GPS, the global positioning system, satellites, to help you go and find a hidden object. And the hidden object, could be something this sort of size. It could be a Tupperware box in a tree. So it's all about getting people out and about, walking and exploring. Now, at the time, I was working in a very high-pressured call center job, and I ended up with facial alopecia. So I would get bald spots in my stubble, in my beard, and that was all because of workplace stress. So I got into walking, and off the back of that, got into a thing called geocaching, and that changed my life. It absolutely changed my life. I've met some amazing people all over the world, and I've had a pretty amazing journey with that. So as I got into geocaching, I wanted to learn more about it. So there were a lot of online forums. Facebook back at that time wasn't really quite as popular as it is now. Hi Sarah, how you doing? And geocaching, you would download sheets of paper, notes, and you would have an expensive GPS unit. And this was prior to the days of mobile phones and apps. So off we would go and find all of these things hidden. And my very first geocaching experience was in Coventry, and I can show you the sort of thing that I found, because I've actually got one down on the floor. It was this sort of thing, and this is a little plastic box, ABS plastic box with a magnet on the back. It's the sort of thing you would hide a spare car key in and then stick it inside your wheel arch, so that you always had a spare car key with you. Now, I went off to go and find my very first one with a torch, and I had an old TomTom car sat nav that I'd put the coordinates into. And I went off and I found my first geocache, similar to that. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was September 2008. Since then, I've travelled, I'm not going to say all over the world, but I've certainly travelled internationally looking to find more geocaches. And I found just short of 4,000 of these things. And that's given me some amazing walks all over the UK, the Peak District, the Lake District, Scotland, Norfolk, Somerset, Wales. I've been all over the UK, and I've met some amazing people, had some amazing adventures. And the more I got into it, the more I wanted to know about the community. That's why I mentioned all the forums and things that we had back in the day. Now, they sort of got replaced with Facebook. So I went to my local newsagent, or WH Smith's, to go and buy something a bit like, I thought, well, there's Country File, there's Country Walking, there's Trail, The Great Outdoors. There's a load of walking magazines. So I was flicking through them as you do in the shop, trying to find bits about geocaching. And there wasn't any. So I think I'm probably dyslexic, possibly Asperger's, ADHD, and I thought I'm going to launch my own magazine all about geocaching and share my adventures with everybody else, and to help people understand the world of geocaching. It was, back then, it was quite a hush-hush secret hobby that people didn't really talk about, because I've got this really cool hobby and we go look for Tupperware boxes in trees. Yeah, all right, that's a bit odd. But anyway, I decided that I was going to write this magazine. And for 7 years, I ran a magazine all about geocaching. And it started off as a little A5 magazine. And the first few episodes or issues were pretty diabolical. And over time, I got some help with the proofreading, with the copywriting, with the graphic design, and I had a team of people that would help me. And we got this magazine into a much, much better magazine. They did a lot of that voluntarily because they wanted, same as me, to share my passion. And that magazine went from being a little A5 thing into a A4 magazine that you could actually buy in WH Smith's. I'm not a publisher, I'm not a journalist, I'm just a nutter who likes looking for Tupperware boxes and hollow trees and wanted to share that with people. So did that, got the magazine into WH Smith's, and off the back of that I had people like the Gadget Show would ring me up so I could help them with a feature on the Gadget Show. I've done a lot of work with people like the National Trust, the Youth Hostel Association, some stuff for the Independent Hostel Guide, and there's a project that I'm going to be working with them soon, which will be a video project about some of the hostels. So watch this space, that'll be coming soon. And we went through, and the magazine, as I say, sold in WH Smith. Simon Mayo would ring me up to go and chat on, Radio 2. Oh, there's my amateur radio in the background. I should have turned that off before going live, really. But I thought I sold out, really. I had this vision of being this great big massive fancy posh magazine, spent thousands and thousands of pounds just to be in WH Smith's and to jump through the various things that I had to do to do that. Just bear with me a moment. I'm just going to go and turn that radio off. There we go. So anyway, sold out with this magazine, and I became a publisher, not the geocaching guy. I didn't go into it to be a magazine publisher and have all the things that I had to do with that, and it ended up costing me a lot of money and a lot of relationships. Darren, it isn't a backdrop. This is actually my wallpaper. There's my light switch, look, hidden away. See if I can swap to the other camera. So there we go. Darren's saying he likes the camera, the backdrop. And then off the back of that, I've got people like Judy, who I met through a social organisation, on a thing called Meetup, a website called Meetup. We set up, and with Judy's help, we run a meetup group encouraging people to get into the hobby of geocaching. Through that, and one of the people that came on the walk, she's now in a new relationship. Well, it's not that new now. It's been a good few years, but she's now in a relationship through somebody that she met through geocaching, through the meetup group that we ran. Bizarre how it's made an impact to people. So I got into it to deal with my mental health and to build a geocaching community. Over the 7 years, over 44 issues of the magazine, but that I lost my marbles with it, and the stress that I got into geocaching for to get rid of in the first place, that came back. So something had to give, and in fairness, I dragged the magazine out for many years, longer than I should have done, because I didn't want to let people down. And in the end, I let more people down than I let myself down. Hi Vanita, how are you? Hope you're well. So fast forward 7 years from getting into 7 years with the magazine. 12 12 years with geocaching as a hobby. What next? Well, it's something that I've talked about a long time ago. Started over a year ago. I got involved with a thing called a group called the Geocaching Association of Great Britain. So they're like a community elected group of people who are there to help promote geocaching, spread the word of it, and they were dealing with landowners, government, bodies. And off the back of that, I thought, I'm going to run some introduction courses, teach people about geocaching, how to do it safely, responsibly, understand how people can use the app, what some of the terminology are, give them ideas what a geocache looks like, how to do it. And I'm in the process of setting up a community interest company, a not-for-profit, to teach people how to do that. Now, off the back of that, you can use geocaching as just a fun thing to do on your own, with friends, with family, and it doesn't have to cost a single penny. And I'm going to take some of that into corporate, really, as a corporate team building event. So, trying to find something about the size. I've got to be careful not to spill this. This is a chia essential oil that somebody sent me for free. The challenge of trying to find something that small in the middle of a wood, it is quite interesting. Now, I'm going to get a bit technical here, and I'm not technical. I've got no medical background, so what I say next could be very wrong. So hopefully it's right. So you've got a GPS unit, and it's saying you're 150 meters away from the thing you're trying to find, and the kind of like a clock is counting down 100 meters, 50 meters, 20 meters, 10 meters, 5 meters, 2 meters, 3 meters. Oh, hang on, it's going back up. I've passed it. So while all this is counting down, the adrenaline's going, and the heart rate's building up. And then as you get there and you find what you've got to find, there's this flood of what I think is dopamine, and serotonin comes into your bloodstream, and you get that sense of satisfaction and accomplishment because you've achieved something. You've managed to find something that small in the middle of a wood, or it could be, wherever it happens to be. I'll just use that as an example. And then you're telling people about it, and you're part of a big community, 120-ish thousand people geocaching in the UK, millions all over the world. And it really is a unifying global hobby that brings everybody together, and it doesn't have to cost a penny. So I want to take some of that feel-good factor that encourages dopamine into you. You don't need to go and smoke your drugs, to go and have your drinks or whatever. Just get out, enjoy some nature, get some fresh air, get some sunshine when it's safe to do so. And hopefully later on today in the UK, as I record this or do this live, hopefully it's recorded. It's the 10th of May. It's 5:45. Yeah, so Jane here talks about a similar feeling to getting a F to F. Now, I mentioned how I want to educate people. Now, an F to F, to people that may be watching, if you're not a geocacher, you have not got a flying clue. I nearly said something else then. You haven't got a Scooby what an F to F is. And part of what I want to try and do is to make that more accessible. So an F to F is a first to find. So geocaching is a community thing, 120-ish thousand people in the UK. So pretty much anybody can go and hide something for somebody to find. And once it's approved and listed, it gets put on this great big massive database, or one of many databases. The most popular one is geocaching.com, which is run by an American company based in Seattle called Groundspeak. And once it's out there, all the local geocachers will race to be the first to go out and find it. And that could be because they've got a notification, an email or alert that comes through, or it could just be that they just happen to be browsing and see this new symbol appears on the map. So anyway, I digest because I'm reading comments like that distract me. So thank you, Sarah. So F to F is first to find. So you go out and you want to be the first geocacher to find this thing that nobody else in the world has found. So you really do go on your own little adventures. Now, growing up, the books that I used to read, in fact, oh no, I've taken it out of that drawer. I grew up reading Enid Blyton books. In fact, I collected Enid Blyton books, and up until relatively recently, I had over 700 Enid Blyton books, and they were all about adventure, a group of kids trying to have some fun and solve, all sorts of puzzles and challenges and adventures. But then, we sort of grew up a little bit, and as we got older, we stopped reading as many books. We started getting into films. Now, there are a lot of films as a young boy that I would watch. No, not that sort of film. I would watch things like The Goonies, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. How many D's in Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark? Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now, I said this earlier on, so Kathy knows what's coming next. How many D's in Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark? 612. So I grew up with that, and I was involved in the Scouts, so I was interested in camping and canoeing and all the outdoorsy stuff. So geocaching for me just fits. And now, moving on, I joined a business networking group called For Networking, and I've got a tattoo. That's how I know people like Sarah Higgs and some of the other people that are perhaps watching this. And I was promoting a magazine that I had. And through that, I started to think, actually, we can use, here we go, Indiana Jones as a hero. There's a photo in a card that I showed earlier on. See, I've got the fedora, and yeah, look like BA out of the 18. Thanks, Andy, for that. Thank you very much for that. And I thought off the back of this, let's take geocaching into that corporate team building event. Let's talk about my passions, and off the back of that, we in the networking thing, we did what's called a foresight, which is about a 15-20 minute stand up and talk about something you're passionate about. And the whole point of that is so that people would get to know, like, and trust what you do. And that gave me an absolute love for public speaking. Now, I've always been a bit odd, not just with this, but back in the day, I was in a youth club, and I thought, I quite enjoy this youth club stuff. So I got into DJing. From DJing, I ran karaoke nights, and then I became a professional bingo caller. So speaking on a microphone in front of people doesn't bother me. Doing things like, lives like this doesn't bother me. Public speaking to some people, it puts the fear of God in them. There's a really good group that I'm part of called Toastmasters International. They can teach you how to be a better speaker. A gentleman that set up the networking group that I'm part of, I'm very proud to be part of for networking. A guy called Brad Burton, UK's #1 motivational business speaker. He ran a course that was how to be a better speaker. And I went on that. And let's have a look. Darren is now saying, wouldn't know me from Adam. Don't forget you have to be a bit special to be a CBer without a truck. 10-4, good buddy. Roger that. I'm actually a licensed amateur now as well. And my call sign is Mike 7, Foxtrot Tango Foxtrot. And if I just sort of cast your memory back, Foxtrot Tango Foxtrot. So now I can buy my love of amateur radio and CB with the geocaching. So first to find, Mike 7 Foxtrot Tango Foxtrot. There we go. So talking of radio, what better time than to introduce a gentleman called Adrian. Adrian DX. DX is an abbreviation for distance transmission. So he's a gentleman that I know through radio. And he very kindly donated me an aerial. Darren saying that the QX cards or the QSL cards are not that far from geocaching. No, they're not. It's all about sending a card to somebody on the other side of the world or wherever you happen to speak to, just to make that confirmation. So I've got a really cool system that I use for sending cards, which I use for geocaching and also for radio. So everything's sort of all sort of gelling together at the minute. Now, in terms of radio, there is a thing called SOTA, which is Summit on the Air. So people will go and get a radio of some sort, a walkie-talkie, or maybe take something with a power supply, and then we'll go up to the top of a hill or a mountain. And this happens all over the world, just like geocaching. And they will transmit from that summit and make radio contacts. Now, linking that back to geocaching, years ago there was a group of us that did Brew with a View. Yes, I have got my own QSL card. Yeah, I have got my own QSL card. We did a Brew with a View event, geocaching event. So we would go up to various summits, meet other geocaches at the top, have a cup of tea, slice of cake, maybe a chocolate bar, whatever, and then trundle back down. Now, at the summit of where we were, there was a geocache, and that geocache was a SOTA geocache. Somebody had placed it there who was also a radio amateur, so it linked it all together. I'm getting out of breath now because I'm getting so excited. This is why, if you look up at the logo, it's up in the top corner, up here somewhere. The things you are passionate about are not random; they are your calling. So it's interesting. You know, I put that up there because I'm passionate about technology. I'm passionate about geocaching. Radio is something that I got into when I was a teenager, and it's something that I've been drawn back into now, partly because of the geocaching and this SOTA. Now, radio technology, computers, is something that I've been interested in for a long, long time. Photography as well. And back in the day, I used to work at a Sony centre in Coventry, and there was a guy there called Paul, but it wasn't this Paul. This Paul is GeoPaul, who runs a YouTube vlogging channel. Lots and lots of really good tips about geocaching. SOTA is Summits on the Air. Summits on the Air. Really good thing for amateur radio. Not so much a CB thing, but it's certainly an amateur radio thing. There's also SOTA with a C, which is churches on the air, and then you get Hota, which is hills on the air, so not quite as tall. There we go, summits on the air. Look at that. It's having my very own PA sat in his office all the way in sort of Bedworth, Bulkington way in the middle of the UK. Kathy is saying, have I got a geocaching blog? No, because I published a magazine, so my blog went into the magazine. So one of the things I'm looking at doing, I've got an app which has got a number of these that the magazines are available, and a lot of that content is free. So I'm thinking now, do I go back to producing a geocaching PDF magazine? So lots of things going around my head at the moment. I'm very much an ideas person, and I quite often get distracted by one idea, then the next and the next. So I get carried away. Perhaps that's a trait of Asperger's, ADHD, which I may or may not have. So I'm keen to look at doing something like that. These days, I think blogs, I'm looking at a podcast, I'm live streaming now for over half hour talking about whatever I've been talking about. And this is also going live on YouTube and Facebook. So if people, I don't know if people have been commenting on YouTube, it doesn't pull the comments through on here. So I will go back and have a look at the YouTube links in a bit if there are any comments on there. Got a geocaching guy website, so lots and lots of bits and pieces to do with that over the coming months. And now that we're on furlough, or wait an hour to see what they say, it's given me lots of chance to come back to my passion. So yeah, public speaking, talking about geocaching, and as and when we're allowed to, getting out and going geocaching. So up until we're allowed to do that, I'm going to do some videos, some blogs and podcasts sharing my passion, and hopefully that will encourage others to want to go and look for Tupperware boxes in hollow trees. Now, yeah, 73s, Adrian, thanks for jumping on. I'll catch you on the coax at some point soon. So thanks for watching, thanks for getting involved. So nice to be able to interact, and it's interesting how my various hobbies, strange things that I do, are linking lots of aspects of my world together. So I know many people from many walks of life, through business networking, through sending cards, through radio, through amateur radio, through CB, through all the various community groups and things that I've got involved with, and it's all sort of coming and linking together, which is really good. Hopefully the stress will stay away. I need to concentrate now on getting my head back together, getting out some debt, and putting some firm plans in place, making sure that I'm not running before I can walk. So I thought I would jump on here, share where my head's at the minute. Now, like many people, I probably do have days where I'm like, can't be bothered, and I've probably rabbited on far too long. So thanks very much for watching. There we go. Helen giving me a bit of support there, saying that I'm going to continue to be fab. So yes, FAB, thank you very much for sharing that. Nice to hear and get that. So that's kind of where I am. That's kind of what I'm up to. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch up with you all soon. Stay safe, and have a look at geocaching.com and see where your nearest geocache is. It's good fun. And if you're not interested in geocaching and going looking for Tupperware box in hollow trees, go and have a look at the go and have a look at the RSGB website, the Radio Society of Great Britain. You can now study and take your online amateur radio license and study for that and apply. You do an online exam. You can do that from home. You don't have to go to a radio club anymore. So if you haven't got your amateur radio license, now's the time to study and do it. Come out of lockdown with new skills, new hobbies. Learn about geocaching, learn about amateur radio, and away you go. So anyway, I really do need to go because